Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth video of my Pride Week Showcase 2022, where you've been seeing some of my videos where I try to explain some of the process behind my art, as well as creating new art pieces centered around Pride, especially as an artist who is queer, non binary, and bakla. So let's get started. So basically, I wanted to start off this video by explaining the video format, at least for this video. I said video a lot too much, so I am so sorry about that. But anyway, I wanted to do a different style from the talking head videos that I had been doing in the past four or so videos and try just a conversational type of thing just so that I can explain a little more about the intent that I wanted for this piece, as well as explain why it is that I am trying to center this piece around trans rights, trans liberation, and overall related to my own experiences as somebody who is non-binary, and non-binary people for the most part are in fact a part of the trans community and do have experiences as human beings who are trans. But before that, I should probably explain a few things about the fact that the piece is, well, it actually started off a lot more advanced than it was when I left it off in the second video of this series. So the reason for that is because I actually originally created a separate video between that point and the starting point for this video. But unfortunately, I had, let's just say that I had technical issues. And so I sort of struggled with trying to get that footage back. And unfortunately, I just could not retrieve it back. And so the starting point for this video is way more advanced than where it was when I left it off, when I was just starting the piece at the beginning. But that definitely does not affect the fact that the process that I have, or at least that I use for creating abstract pieces, just like this one. So essentially, what I wanted to do with this piece, I guess, as the second piece in the series, is to delve in to the cause of trans rights, especially at a time when trans people, when non-binary people are basically having our bodies, our existence as a whole questioned over and over again. And of course, it's not like these issues had not already been heavily discussed, heavily gaslit, or at least heavily politicized in the way that it has been. But it's really the fact that this discourse has taken a whole new turn with the issues that face, or rather, the issues that trans women face in particular, regarding just very invasive laws, very invasive rules like bathroom bills or the way too heavily politicized issue of trans women being able to play a sport, being able to be athletic and attempt to live their lives as women. And so right now it is to me more important than ever for anyone who identifies as trans, anyone who overall identifies outside of the male versus female sex binary or the man versus woman gender binary to be able to speak, to be able to reach out, to be able to authentically be ourselves, to show that we are defiant against these political tides, these political pressures that society is trying and doing its best to exert upon us, because our humanity does not deserve to be questioned just because we're different, just because we think differently or we exist differently. Because at the very end of the day, we are, in fact, human beings, just like anyone who is cisgender, just in the same way that queer people are human beings, just like anybody who is straight. And so to me, I wanted to create this piece both as a healing and coping mechanism to, of course, try to give myself the space and the ability to do something constructive with the anxiety, with the fear that I otherwise have for myself as well as for the rest of my community. But also, I wanted to create this piece just to say that who we are as people who live outside of the gender binary, we are valuable. Our voices are valuable. They are absolutely capable of great things on this earth. And at least in this instance, I wanted to sort of measure up to that by trying to create art that to me reflects that message. In some way, it might be almost hubris to say that I wanted to create a great artwork, but in all fairness and in all honesty, great artwork really is all about the authenticity, the reason why you create the work, in as much as it is about the technique behind the piece or the visuals that the piece ends up having at the end of the entire process. But anyway, I guess the best way that I would describe this particular art piece is that it's sort of a visual journey almost in trying to reconcile all of my different identities with my experiences as a human being. And so, really, this particular piece is about reconciling my non binary, my trans identity with my lived experience as a human being, since honestly, it has probably only been around a year since I started to identify as a non-binary abagla person. And so looking back, reflecting on my experiences as a person, even back when I still identified as male, I am rediscovering so much. And really, what this piece ended up doing is almost giving me a pathway to talk it out, but instead draw it out in in a way. So now that I've been able to create these different abstract shapes and overall create a composition that I like, I've chosen the baby pink and the baby blue in the form of markers instead of using watercolors, since I think that it might be a lot better to keep the medium consistent, at least for this piece, rather than introducing a whole new medium that could potentially ruin the work that I've done so far on this drawing. So I think the way that I can start will be to probably create shapes that are somewhat similar to the existing doodles that I've already filled in. So probably, for instance, using the baby blue, I can probably make a shape just like this. And that's also the entire purpose of why I created these demarcated lines in a way. Just so I can tell myself that this is the space in which I will include these colored shapes. Yes, so as you can probably see, this shape is a lot like these other shapes that I've already created. And so I will probably just continue on with creating shapes just like this one, using both the baby pink and the baby blue colors, just to create the overall composition that I guess I am envisioning in my head as I talk to you right now. So back to my explanation about the process behind this particular art piece. I should probably mention that to a degree, I often feel very alone just in general as a person, and especially as an artist. And so a lot of my abstract art pieces, especially, but even some of my more realism based pieces often reflect a lot of this reflective state that I am almost perpetually in, just because I do get so much time to just think within myself, to just be in my own world for such a large part of the day. And so when it comes to, I guess, the process of drawing it out in the form of this piece as well as in a lot of my other pieces, drawing out this reconciliation of my past experiences and reconciling it with my current experiences. I have plenty of time to just wander, to just imagine a world where I feel like I can be absolutely free to be myself, a world where I guess I can truly be as expressive as I honestly wish that I could be without judgment, which is currently not the case. And of course, that's not solely because of the fact that I am a non binary bakla queer person. It's also partly because these experiences intersect with my identity as an autistic person who lives with this really specific disability experience that a lot of other autistic people may not live with either. And on top of that, I do live a racialized experience as someone who is Filipino in America, in a Western nation. And so, to me, the classic ways of doing things, including the classic ways of just drawing, of making art in realistic ways, for instance, I just do not, I just don't relate to that, to having to conform with that idea of art, because even when I'm creating a somewhat realistic piece, I always put my own twist on it. And I guess that can be considered my signature as an artist. So I guess in a way, every single new piece that I make is a culmination of everything that I learned in my previous lifetimes. And so that's really the story of this particular art piece. So overall, I am pretty satisfied with the way that this piece has turned out, especially with the fact that I was able to fully integrate the trans flag colors into the composition. And at the same time, I was actually able to create a composition that I would say is, at least to me, visually pleasing. It has all of the elements that you would expect from an abstract composition created by Fornessa Art. And finally, I just like the fact that I was able to include such a variety of different abstract elements, visual elements, and that I was able to, I guess, find a way to solve the problem of what, I guess, how or what was I going to do with the different elements that I already had in the composition and create a unified piece. So, with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching this video and goodbye for now.